Implementing an LMS or a learning management system is one of the most important projects in the career of an L&D leader. But if your organization has never used an LMS before, you need to really make sure that your organization is ready for an LMS. What are these symptoms or the triggers that you need to watch out for before you begin advocating the usage of an LMS in your organization? Let us talk to our guest today and find out. So, hi everyone. This is Dheeraj Sharma from Playablo, and today we have our guest Linus Mascarenhas. He is the L&D manager at Auxilo Finserve. Hi, Linus. Thank you for taking out time this morning. A quick introduction about Linus. Linus has been in the space of learning and development in the corporate space for a decade and a half. He has worked with General Mills, JPMC, Gibbs, and now he runs the learning and development at Auxilo Finserve. And Linus, a question for today, the key question for today is, at what point in time in an organization should the L&D manager or an HR leader look at adopting a learning management system, an LMS, as a tool as opposed to just using, emailing out files or setting up a learning portal, right? What is the trigger? What are the symptoms that leaders should look for?
Hey, Dheeraj, good morning, and thanks for having me as part of this session. I think every learning and development manager's first goal in an organization is going to be to check how knowledge is being disseminated. And that's where that initial thought comes up of when do we implement the LMS in an organization. So for me, based on experience and having worked with both large scale and smaller organizations that are in the phase of setting up, I think the real question comes up is when are you really spending more time disseminating or sharing the information versus actually people applying that knowledge that they are supposed to. And that's really the point where you would need to implement or introduce an LMS if you want to promote a culture of continuous learning.
So a question that we typically come across, or other situations, right? Is there a size of the organization that is relevant, right? Could company as small as like 20 or 30 people also look at an LMS, or is that a more a problem that can be handled manually, and beyond a certain point it becomes tricky? Is the geographical location of the your employee base a consideration that that an organization should look at?
So I'll kind of handle this in two specific segments, because you mentioned one is the size of the organization, second is the geographic location. So in terms of size, I wouldn't say there's a right size that you can look at, because there may be a need for even an organization of 20 to 50 people to have an LMS in place, depending on firstly, what is the amount of information that is changing and how dynamic that changes. If things are changing really rapidly, you may want to kind of put a process or a system in place which gives you or shares that information with your end users and tracks how quickly that is going to everyone that is required. The second part is the geography that comes into place. So more about, are you willing to spend on travel, accommodation for people to go and upskill these employees that you have, versus have a system in place which is more reliable and take out those dependencies that you're holding on people and put it more on a systemic, I would say, implementation that is centrally tracked, centrally managed, and governed, thereby reducing your overall cost as well. So smaller organizations, yes, they would benefit because they're saving in terms of a lot of travel. And when it comes to geographically diverse organization, it is very essential to have this, because then it becomes a central control mechanism for you.
So Linus, thanks. I think that these two answers, put the whole thing in perspective. I'm hoping companies, that are small and medium size would find this very relevant, because that is the size at which they are looking at, bringing in LMS as a part of the employee, both engagement as well as ensuring the learning is in place. One last question, Linus, just for the reference for the audience. What is the size of Auxilo Finserve right now?
So currently we are at 300 strong. When we started using the LMS, however, I'll be very precise over here. We started with 100 subscriptions because we had only targeted a specific team. And over the course of a year and a half, we've actually increased not just our team, but spread the LMS service to everybody in the organization. And currently we are sitting at close to around 270 plus licenses through Auxilo, through Playablo, I mean. So 100 to 270 in a year and a half, that's a big change, and we've seen the benefits coming out of it, and that's the reason why we've kind of grown, and the LMS platform as well has kind of increased in subscriptions for us.
Excellent. Love someone. All power to Auxilo. No, we are rooting for you. All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot for your time today, Linus, and you have a great day.
Thank you, Dheeraj.
All right. Bye.
Yeah.
All right. So 3 key takeaways over here. Number 1, do you want to only disseminate the information to your learners, or do you also want to make sure that the learners are actually imbibing it and utilizing the knowledge practically on their day-to-day basis? An LMS will be a huge booster, huge help in that direction. That's the one. So number 2, does the information that you're trying to disseminate through an LMS or in either way undergo a change on a regular basis? This information could be your processes, your services, your products, your SOPs, your policies. If that happens regularly, then that's a huge case for an LMS. And finally, number 3, are you looking at reducing the overall L&D budgets and spend? Implementing an LMS will almost always lead to a reduction in your L&D spend and budgets. So there you are. Those are the 3 key takeaways. We hope this was helpful. All the very best, and we'll be back next week with another question in the space of workplace learning.